What's up, fantasy managers? This is week 3 of the offensive line, defensive line report. I'm going to be talking about the fat guys up front because they're people, and they should be able to eat their cake too. You want to know how to win this week? Stick around for 7 seconds. You can do it! Because the battle of the trenches is the most important part in fantasy football. So I will give you 3 running backs to start. I will give you 3 running backs to avoid. This is only week 3, so the data will continue to be more accurate as the years go on. But I'll show you what I got for this week right now. To start off, I'm going to talk about the Steelers offensive line versus the Patriots defensive line. Now, the Steelers have not, on both sides of the ball, they have not looked great this year. But Jaylen Warren is actually doing pretty good. But why would I put this here? Is because the Patriots defensive line, they have only allowed, they're earning minus 0.05 yards before contact. So even before they are hitting that line of scrimmage, those running backs are getting hit in the backfield, right? And Jaylen Warren is the guy who is RB1 for the Steelers right now. He's getting 100% of the rushes inside the 5-yard line, which is great. So you're going to hope for that because it doesn't seem like he's going to do well on the rushing aspect of the game. And I want to go and look at some stats from Jaylen Warren. So he's only had 25 attempts this year on 3.4 yards per carry. That's not great. I don't really like that. So he's 22nd in the NFL in carries, averaging about 12.5 a game. He's about 50% when it comes to the snap share. It's at 52.1%. That's 29th best in the league. That's not great either. Coming from an RB1, you want more than that. And it looks like what they're doing a lot against the Steelers is that they're stacking the box. He's seen a stacked box 28% of the time. That's actually 4th most in the NFL. He's only averaging 2.6 yards per carry. So even in a stacked box, they're giving him the ball. His running metrics are not great here, but the good thing about him is that he is a receiver. He can catch the ball. And as I go over here to the points allowed, who are they playing against? They're playing against the Patriots. They're 15th overall and allowing 22 points per game to running backs. But the thing is, they allowed 13 receptions to running backs. That looks like it's like top 5, top 6. And that's where you're going to have to get your points from because it looks like on the ground, they're not going to give up much. New England's only allowed like 58.5 rushing yards per game. That is actually 3rd best on the defensive side. So the rushing game is not going to happen for Jaylen Warren. You got to hope that he's going to get probably like 6 or 7 targets, which he might get because if I remember, he's actually leading the Steelers in receiving yards. Let me check that out real quick. And yeah, I'm actually right. Jaylen Warren has 108 receiving yards on the season so far. That's number 1 for the Steelers. DK Metcalf has 103. So that's what you're going to hope happens again this game because the rushing metrics are not there for him. He has not been great on the ground. The Steelers' offensive line has not been great in pushing the defenders back. And actually, the Patriots' defensive line has been elite so far against the run. And a few more stats for Jaylen Warren. I want to look at the yards after contact per attempt. And I found it here. He's actually 31st in yards after contact per attempt, which is not great at 2.6. So he's not getting the yards before contact, and then when he gets hit, he's not getting the yards after contact. So it's going to be a struggle for him on the ground because he's only getting 12 opportunities a game on the ground as well. So I will not expect a big game unless he gets a goal line carry because right now he's the only one doing it, so he must be the goal line back for the Steelers. So if he could get a goal line carry and get a touchdown, that might be able to put him in RB1 numbers because the receptions are going to be there, and they will need to be there for him to put up RB1 numbers this week. All right, and the second running back I want to talk about is going to be one of the Browns running back. I'm going to have to go with Quinshon Judkins just because I feel like he's going to take over that RB1 role. Last week, 10 attempts, 61 yards. That's 6.1 yards per carry. That looks great. But when you come to the inside the 5-yard line, actually is Jerome Ford. He has the most carries, or he has 50% of the carries. But I think Judkins is going to take into that role eventually because he's a big back. I think he's going to be the goal line guy. The Browns, though, their offensive line is only earning 0.55 yards before contact. That's not great. That's in the red. That is bad. And they're going up against the Packers. The Packers allow a minus 0.05 yards before contact. They're not allowing much. They're not budging. They're actually meeting you before the line of scrimmage. The Packers D is legit this year, and the Browns offensive line, when it comes to the run game, is not getting any push. And that is very unfortunate because Quinshon Judkins he actually looked really good. If we're going to look at the yards after contact for Judkins, he's actually second best right now, averaging 5.70 yards after contact per attempt. I mean, granted, it's only on 10 carries, but still, that's pretty solid for a rookie in his first outing. His snap share was only 27.4% in last week's game. I imagine that will go up. I think there's a lot of hype for him because of how well he played last week, but I don't think this is the game that you want to start him in. Okay? Because the Green Bay Packers, their defense is only allowing 48.5 yards of rushing a game, and that's actually second best. And then here we go. The Packers have given up the 25th most points to running backs at 14.7. None of that's good. He's a good running back who's going to be sharing the backfield with two other people, Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, most likely. And the Green Bay Packers defense has only given up 14.7 points to running backs. And their defensive line is meeting them in the backfield, and they're putting their hands on them. They're trying to tackle them before they're getting anything going. The Browns are not getting any push on the offensive line. I don't think this is the game that you want to actually put Quinshon Johnson into your starting lineup. I think you should ice him out. You should ice him out. And then the last running back that we need to talk about that you should probably avoid this week, if you can, is running back Ashton Jeanty. Because right here it is showing that offensive line is not getting any push at all. Minus 0.55 yards before contact. That is horrible. It might be the worst on this list for offenses. They're playing against Commanders defense that average basically a league average of 1.2 yards before contact. So they're at least allowing people to get a yard, a little bit more than a yard, but this is just looking so bad for the Raiders offensive line in this matchup. Even though Ashton Jeanty has 100% of the carries, that might save them somehow if they could get into the goal line. But the Commanders defensive line right now, I believe, will be able to hold Ashton Jeanty. So Ashton Jeanty cannot get any yards before contact. And then his yards after contact, let's see here, ranks 24th best behind Omarion Hampton. Behind Omarion Hampton, just above Cam Scatterboo. Ashton Jeanty is averaging 2.80 yards after contact. And that's with, I think it shows here, 30 attempts. That's not why you draft somebody 6 overall. He's struggling with breaking tackles and getting extra yards. Right now, out of 30 attempts, he has 81 yards on the season. That is 2.7 yards per carry. Now, some good things about him is that his snap share, he's in the top 15. His opportunity share is top 10. His weighted opportunities, top 15, right? He's actually getting 3 targets a game, which is good too. So he's getting involved in the passing game. Red zone touches. He's the only one on the field. He's the only running back they're using. So all that is great. So this is a game that you're going to be hopeful for and that things are going to work his way. And hopefully he could get a goal line touchdown because it looks like they're only using him. But I don't see a lot of yards on the ground for Ashton Jeanty. And the Commanders right now, 27th best. They're actually tied with 3 other teams, only allowing 14.7 yards or 14.7 points per game to running backs. Now, if it was just him getting all of that, that's kind of an okay game. That looks like there might be a touchdown in there. I don't see that happening. It'll be very tough for him to actually get over 10 points this week against the Commanders. If you can, ice this guy out. I want to take a second. If you're enjoying this video, then please hit the subscribe and then press the alert button so every time these videos come out, you won't miss it. You'll see it be notified on your phone. You can also smash the like. It pushes us out to more people. We're trying to get up to 3,000 subscribers before the season's over. We can't do it without you guys. We appreciate all you zoners out there. Thank you for watching. Now let's talk about the other running backs. These are the running backs that you want to put into your lineup. These are the players you want to start who can light up your roster to get you those fantasy points. But actually, I think the first one I'm going to do is a little bit of rolling of the dice. Now, hear me out. It will be Nick Chubb for the Texans. The Texans right now are earning 1.95 yards before contact. They will be playing against the Jaguars defensive line that gives up 2 yards before contact. That's crazy. So what I'm looking at right now is that Nick Chubb could get close to 2 yards before being touched by any defender. And he's got the 100% of the goal line carries. So this matchup on paper looks pretty good. I go to Jacksonville. I'm looking at the points per game to running backs. First off, they haven't given up a rushing touchdown to any running back this year. Have a goose egg. There's 0. And when I go to check to see how many points Jacksonville has given up to running backs this year, they're ranked 24th. They are averaging 15 points to running backs this year. That's actually pretty good. And I'm like, and then I started thinking, is Jacksonville actually a good defense? Like, what's going on here? So I go to the wide receivers, and yes, Jacksonville is top 7 in points allowed to wide receivers. They give up 40 points to wide receivers. I'm like, okay, so no one needs to run against them. They can pass the ball, but can you run against them? And when I'm looking at this, like I said, they're giving up 2 yards before contact. That is one of the worst. Let me see if there's any team, even any defensive line that's worse than 2 yards before contact. There's one, the Bills. They're actually giving up 2.1 yards before contact. And the Bears. So maybe Javonte Williams again. He was on the show last week. He did well. Looks like he has a good chance to do well again this week against the Bears defense. So it looks like they are in the top 3 for giving up most yards before contact. And the Texans are actually in the top probably like 5 in yards before contact with their offensive line. And like I said, Nick Chubb, he's kind of an old guy, right? I go to his yards after contact per attempt, and it's not the best. It looks like he is 49th overall. He is. He's only averaging 1.84 yards after contact per attempt, and that's not great. But when you go and look to see how often the Texans run the ball, they actually run the ball 11th most per game. They run it 47% of the time. That's 11th most in the league. He is the number 1 back. He's only gotten 13 carries the first week, 12 carries the second week. Those little game scripts were a little bit weird. I think this is a game script that they could actually be more neutral in. I mean, it is Jacksonville, but the Texans defensive line, or the Texans defense, or secondary, is actually pretty good. And some running metrics for Nick Chubb. He is 50% snap share. That's so good. You wish that would be a little bit higher. He is getting involved in the passing game. He's getting close to 2 targets a game. And then when I look at his rushing yards over expected per attempt, he's just under 1.0. He's at 0.87 yards, rushing yards over expected per attempt, which ranks him in the top 12, it looks like. So this guy is going to be your average player, right? I mean, look what happened to his knees. They're probably robotic right about now. But if you're struggling to put somebody in your flex, this could be your guy just because of the sweet matchup that he has in the offensive line, defensive line report. And the Texans do run the ball a shit ton this season. So he's the RB1 on the team. He's going to have 2 yards before anybody will even lay a hand on him. He can get a lot of yards from that. His rushing yards over expected per attempt is actually 12th best, which means like he earns more than what the defense has given him. And to remind you, week 2, when he got that rushing yards over expected per attempt at 0.87, he did that against a Buccaneers team who is, their defensive line is allowing 1.35 yards before contact. And now he's going up against a Jacksonville defense that is allowing, I just had it, 2 yards before contact. So he's actually going to go up against an easier front for this week. And he's the goal line back for the team. So if they get inside the 5-yard line, they're going to give it to Nick Chubb. I actually see him scoring a touchdown this game. And if he does that, I think he's going to be perfect for your flex. So light it up. And now the second guy that you should put into your lineup to light up your roster this week with points. This is a guy that we've been talking about all offseason about, and I'm finally excited that he's going to be the main dude, and it's going to be Jordan Mason. And on one of our earlier episodes this week, we went over Vegas odds over and under props and all that. They are predicting that he will get 18.5 rushing attempts this game. That is amazing. The Vikings, they're about average. Their offensive line earns a 0.95 yards before contact, but they are going to face a Bengals defensive line that is allowing 1.75 yards before contact, and they have given up a rushing touchdown this year already. The Vikings offensive line should dominate when it comes to the run game of the Bengals. Both teams are playing with backup quarterbacks. I can see a lot of running in this game. And now that Jordan Mason is going to get majority of the carries, he is actually one of my starts of the week. I'm predicting that he's going to blow up and go nuclear and light up your team. If you have him in your lineup, you should already put him in. And if you're not convinced, I'll give you some more stats of why you should. His Rushing yards over contact per attempt is actually 8th best, which is 3.92. So the Bengals here are, what I just say about the Bengals? They are allowing 1.75 yards before contact, and then he's giving you an extra 3.92 yards after contact. So this guy is running around 5 to 6 yards of after contact, before getting contact altogether. And he's going to do this again against a Bengals defense, against a Bengals team that is allowing the second most points to running backs at 29.4. And then I would like to add, the Minnesota Vikings run the ball the 4th most in the league per game. They are running it 52.3% of the time. And he's averaging 0.25 yards, missed tackles forced per attempt, which is elite. This is what he's been doing most of his career, or at least last year and now this year. This game, this player should definitely help your team win this week. Put him in your lineup to light up those fantasy points. And the third running back I'm going to talk about is Tony Pollard. I believe this is a game that he is going to do well for your fantasy team. The Titans are an average of 1 yard before contact. They're going against a Colts defensive line that allows 1.7 yards before contact, and they've given up a rushing touchdown to running backs this year. This looks like a game that he could finally do well in. Unfortunately, the only person to get goal line touches in this offense for running backs is Julius Chestnut. I am hoping that changes for this game. If not, there's a good chance that we're going to see some breakaway runs from Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard this season been a workhorse for the team. He's actually first in snap share in the league at 88.7%. He's on the field all the time. He's the one getting the carries. He's the one getting the targets. His opportunity share, he's number 2 at 95.2%. But he's had some pretty tough matchups. First game of the season, he went up against the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos defense just tore up the Titans and that rookie quarterback. But in that game, he still had 18 carries. The next game, he went up against the Los Angeles Rams. They lost that game. Finally was able to score a touchdown through the air at least. But the Rams and Broncos are both teams that are difficult to play against. But this week is a division game. This will be his best matchup out of the first 3 games of the season. It's because that Colts defensive line, they give up a lot of yards before contact. And if the pattern continues, he's going to get around 18 or 20 touches a game. And on top of that, his yards after contact is not bad. He's actually in the top 20 at 3.0 yards per attempt for after contact, so that's good. But it's all about volume with this guy. So he's got decent yards after contact. He's got a sweet matchup in yards before contact in the defensive line. Tennessee, they are an average or middle of the pack and running the ball 43.7% of the time. And the Colts are the middle of the pack, their defense, and allowing 21 points per game to running backs. The thing is, he's the only one that gets the carries, except at the goal line. Julius Chestnut. I am hoping that was just a fluke, and hopefully he'll return back to getting his goal line carries. Because right now, he's doing pretty well with the uses that he has. He's 4th with 38 carries a game, 6th in rushing yards at 152. When it comes to evaded tackles, he's 7th overall. He creates 71 yards per game for a total of 142. That's actually 10th best. The only thing stopping here is the Titans not scoring enough points, but I think this is going to be the game where he does score the points because the Titans are going to score points. This is going to be the game that he's actually going to do well for your team, so make sure that he is in your lineup to light up that score. Now, I'm looking at the time right now. It is midnight where I'm at. So let's finish this thing up. I gave you 3 running backs to start. I gave you 3 running backs to avoid, all because of how the offensive line, defensive line report are for those teams. And if you want to know where the Fantasy Red Zone ranks these running backs that I mentioned in this video, then make sure to click this here. It's our live video that we do every Friday. We go over our rankings. You can come and join us, ask questions. We'll try to answer it. Have a few brewskis. We talk shop. I'll talk to you in that video. Deuces.